Hello everyone. Hello everybody from Kandahar. Hello, one participant from Swat. Welcome to the fourth session for the book clubs across border and the first session of the new year. So happy New Year to all of you. So the book that we're going to be discussing today is a very wonderful book. On one of the youngest Nobel laureate. I'm Malala. It talks about the journey of Malala Yousafzai and how she became the person we now know her to be. So initially, I would just start off with our participant in Kandar, if they can just share their views on the book, and then we can take the conversation from there. So yeah, over to you, Kandar.
Hello everyone, greeting from Kandahar. I am Ahmed Mursal Azizi, and I'm so glad being here with you. From the moment I got the book, I'm Malala, I was curious about the name of the book. Like, why is it I'm Malala? So I was reading the book and I was so enthusiastic about that to find out why it is called Malala, I'm Malala. So I was going all through all the stories and they were so amazing, like they were breathtaking. And and I will just come to make a long story short. I'll just come to the moment that why it's called I'm Malala, the book of the name. So, it was a formal day, so they were going from school to the home. And by the way, there were Taliban that they stood up on the road and they stopped their van. So they opened the back door of the van and they just, and they were Malala and her friends were sitting like they were going from school to home. So they asked like so many questions like, why do you do it? Like you are not allowed to, females are not allowed to go to school here. So after some speeches, so the final question was from the Taliban was like, who is Malala? From the moment that he asked her, all her friends just look at her like she is Malala without saying it. So the Taliban just shot 3 bullets and 2 bullets hit her friends and the one just hit her like from the eye to the shoulder. So then the fight just occurred. So after they lived in, they were Malala just got to the hospital like it was from the she went to like from the other state of the hospital and like she was 1 week in a coma and all the the actions that she mentioned happened. So that was such a like a breathtaking moment. Like it's so hard to realize and visualize it. So when she woke up, like when she just got fine, Alhamdulillah, was like just a gift to her, like a second life. So she said, like, I didn't get a chance to say, like, I am Malala, just stood for herself. So she said, like, I'm just putting this name for my book, that the answer of that, the answer for their question, like, I am Malala. So it was such a great one. And she said, like, my word, they just changed my word. Like, I was nothing from the end, and now I'm like most popular in the all country, like in the all world. So she said, like, my word just changed, but I'm the same Malala, and I will stand for education like forever. So that was my points that I just mentioned and read about it. That was so
So
exciting.
how so for so when reading the story of Malala and how she had the resilience and how she had the courage to stand up against the Taliban and to fight for her right to education, while reading the story and the journey of Malala, what was your impression of it? What was your reaction to it while reading these pages, like you just said, of how she got shot by the Taliban for just being vocal about her rights? How was it for you to read about it? And because in Afghanistan, we still have the Taliban still there. Obviously, they're still in Pakistan as well. So, with all that dynamics, how were you able to relate to it, and what was your impression of it?
The impression from that moment, like it was so breathtaking. Like, as you mentioned, like we can also face that situation in our country as well, because in some, provinces, the women are yet not allowed to go to school. So it was such a hard moment that I just visualized it. And I believe that if we stand for education like she did, we can, make a change in the world.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us. Thank you so much. Let's move on to our other participants in Kandahar and let's hear from them that how was it for them to read the story of Malala and to go through that journey with her.
Alicia, two participants from Swat have also joined in, Huria and
Ah,
uh,
I couldn't see them on my screen.
I think Huria disconnected, but there is Hadika as well. Hadika, can you hear us?
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Riyalai Nouri from Kandahar province. And I'm also a participant of your program about the book by the name of I'm Malala. And studying about Malala's book is so perceive and has a lot of inspirational goals for those who are having goals and aims for the future, especially for men and women. And for men, because it's so important, because a woman could stand against the whole Taliban or the way that they were fighting there. And for women, that's a great challenge. The way of solutions for the problems that when women can do everything like Malala did that. And one story, the stories that I studied in this book, especially the story which I get enjoyed myself, that is about who's Malala. And that Malala's teacher, math teacher, she was dreaming that Malala's fit is in Borneo, and she told the story, the dreams to her father that Malala is in danger. And after that day, the Malala is also dreaming in her sleep. And she never said to her father about the dreams that she faced and her sleeping. So after that, she was carrying in the way from the shadow, from the way he was walking. She was thinking that someone is beside me and want to kill me. So therefore, she was wearing a lot. And after that, when she was awake a lot in the night, that they have other participants and guests in their home when they slept. And after that, Malala was still awake and rechecked the doors, especially the entrance or the big door that they had in their home. And after that, she had a lot of windows in her room and open and put up the old curtains and want to see the old things, the old places of her province. So she recite the Ayatul Kursi Ayam, especially that we have in Holy Quran. She repeated 5 times and more than that to give herself security in the street of the society. So that is the great and inspirational book for all new generation, especially for the old generation, can help with the youngs and women, men and women. Yeah, that is so good for me.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. And I really resonate with what you're saying. Malala is actually a document of woman resilience and how in faces of extreme uncertainty and extreme challenges, women have the power to go far beyond than our own capacities that we assume that we have. Being in a patriarchal society, we obviously assume the male portion of the society, they have a certain leverage over the other person. But we have seen time and time again, even in these circumstances, it is women who have the courage and have the resilience to go beyond and challenge the status quo. Thank you so much for sharing that thought. And on the same thought, let's move on to our participant from Swat, which has joined with us, Hadika. Hadika, if you can hear us, I would just like to hear about the thoughts and your experience of reading this book, and how was it for you to connect with the story of Malala and with the whole dynamic of how she came out of a shell and how she basically challenged the status quo and challenged in face of such dangers and traumas. So yeah, just your opinion on that.
Just adding on here, Malala is also from Swat, and these
Yeah.
students, the school that they go to, Hushal Public School, I think Malala also studied there. So that's what their teacher told me, Miss Homa. If you can please correct me, Huria, if you can hear us, please join the conversation as well. Huria, can you hear us? maybe Hadika, if you can hear us and give us your thoughts about the book and what do you know about Malala being in Swat? I think they're having some connectivity issues. We can go back to Kandahar and talk to them in the meanwhile.
So Kandahar, coming back to you guys, and while hearing about your opinions on how the participants told us, how was it for them to read this book, and how was it for them to go through this journey with Malala while reading her book and her documented experiences. For you guys, while living in a situation in Afghanistan where, like I said earlier, where we are not done with the Taliban threat. Even in Pakistan, we're not done with the Taliban threat, but in Afghanistan, we see a lot of incursions happening time and time again. So for you guys, how was it for you to read about this journey that Malala was going through and relate to your own journey? Obviously you are males, so that you may have a leverage of getting education uh, compared to the women in your society, but for you, I'm sure there were certain elements that you can really relate to. And what were the lessons that you learned from
Salam once again. Zamarala is here. So the thing is, each and every community has a challenge for the citizens or for the villager to get education. And as Malala, one of the leading women, as she had the problem of going to school and get education, so the same problem we men also have, and most of the societies in Afghanistan and in Pakistan. So the thing is, the feedback from this book and reading from this book is that we should never give up. Malala didn't give up. So she was eager to get education, and her goal and her aim was to do what she believes in. So of course she did what she believed in that could bring positivity and changes in her life, and she believed that if she could change herself, then she can change the community and the thoughts of the people living in the community. So of course, like Malala didn't give up, like she didn't give up, and we must do the same. Like we should have the same. And of course, like, well, she was going to school, so she had many challenges. Like, for example, people were bullying her, and like, they wanted to like put her into a risk to stop her from getting education. But she was a woman that never give up. So she just wanted to show the world that nothing was from getting education. So she just stated that one pen, one girl can change the community and can bring positivity and community. So this is what I can connect like from my life to the book. So I faced a lot of challenges while going to school or while going to university, and the challenges either financial challenges or, like, for example, challenges, threats from the people, threats from the community, and even my sister in the school, so they face a lot of challenges, but we make them good school, and they should never give up, since there are people who will stop them from dreaming and from becoming decision makers in the future. So what we can do is to have them listen to such motivational stories as Malala has written in her book. So of course, I am pretty sure that they will also not give up, and they will go for what they believe can bring positivity in the communities. Thank you. That was it from my side, Mr.
Thank you so much, Zamir.
The participants also have some others to share, so if they can get a chance to, please.
So yeah, sure. Anybody else from Kandahar would really like to comment on these points that we just raised?
Hello everyone, this is Jalil from Kandahar, and I'm so glad, happy to see you once again 1 month later. And the book, which was Malala, was such a great book, inspired me more, and in such challenges that she saw in her trip. That she attended the school that her father Zaydin had foreign with Taliban attacking the girls' school in Swat. And so the time that she gave a speech in Peshawar under the title of "How Dare Taliban Took My Basic Right to Education," and besides that she also started blogging on the BBC about under the living about Taliban threats to deny their women's education, and but in order to hide his identity, use the name Gulmekri, but she revealed to be the BBC blogger in December of that year. So besides that, she did not up and she spoke about her own rights and all women's rights through education and other. This activism nominated her with the International Children Peace Prize in 2011, and in the same year she was awarded the Pakistan National Peace Prize. And but Yusufzai and her family knew that Taliban would issued a threat against her. They feel that the Taliban would not harm a child. While in on October 9, 2012, Malala was riding a bus from school to home. A gunman stopped the bus and asked was Malala and questions. So the gunman shot at her and two other girls were injured in the trip. So the shooting left Malala in a very serious situation. So she was soon gone out to military hospital in Peshawar. For further care, she was transferred to Birmingham, England. And but 9 months after shooting by Taliban, she gave a speech in the United Kingdom, highlighted her focus on education and all women's rights. And she said that the Taliban, the terrorists may think that she would stop her ambitions and change her minds, but nothing changed in her life without fearless, weakness, and hope. Thank you. That's my.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us. I would just, yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I have a question for all of you. We have been discussing that she was attacked by the Taliban and they shot her. And like one of our friends from Kandahar also pointed that out, that even boys and men also face challenges while getting education, going to school and going to universities. There is some kind of resistance from the community and factions in the community like the Taliban. So my question is that, what do you think that such some elements in the community try to resist people's dreams or people's desire to get an education? What is their motive behind that? What do you think is their agenda behind stopping people to get education?
I am very sorry. We had very bad internet connection. So can you please restate the question, please?
I was just basically asking that, what do you think that Taliban's motive is behind from having this resistance from making people stop getting education? What do you think is their motive behind that? Why don't they want people to get education?
Well, it will take a little bit of the political side, but still I will just share what I just know and what is here in my mind. Actually, like if we look at the leaders in Afghanistan nowadays, they were the people that were telling us, the citizen, do not allow your daughters get education. Do not allow your son get education. But now look, their daughters, their son, their children, they study in foreign countries and they have a type of appearance that they were telling us that time not to allow our children, not to allow our sister wives to be the same as their children are now today. To be honest, what they want us to be, they just want us to just remain in dark and never improve and never develop. They want us stop trying to make our communities, because if the community is made, then no one will pay attention to what they are stating. So of course, like, it is going to take a little bit of the political side. So I wish we had so much time so that we could discuss them deeply, but I will just give the participants chance to talk. So gentlemen, why do you think Taliban are trying to stop us from getting education? Especially women, right? Especially women, right? So anyone who can answer, yes or no?
Hello again, this is Azizi. It takes me to the story of her father that she mentioned, like my father is a falcon, and I believe that he was a real falcon. When he was, publishing or creating some schools in his area, like in Swat, he faced so many challenges. And one of them, at the first it was like, okay, but when the Taliban come, like in the book, she mentioned like Mullah, there were some several names that she mentioned, like they would come to his school and they would say like, why do men and women sit together? Then he said like, okay, I'll fix this problem. They come like, why do men and women come from the same door, come and go from the same door? Then he just switched the doors from both of them. So at the end, they just sent a letter like a newspaper to the all resilient, the residents over there, like they were saying that in the schools we are seeing girls like they are taking them to the parties, to the places, like we don't know what are their intentions, what are they doing, like they just mentioned an hadith like the Prophet, peace be upon him, said like we should stop an evil if it's against us. Like there were three ways to make the long story short. So the Taliban were like from the very beginning, they were just pointing to the little things that they didn't want girls or females to go to the schools. So these were some their actions that they just made. But her father was the real falcon. He stood up to all the challenges. So that was like he believed, like he was like arguing with him, like, you're doing false, what are you doing, are you awake, just go away. They were like some arguing. He believed that they are wrong and they are just don't want us to don't want our girls or females to be educated. And as well as he said, like, the Taliban just made a challenge, like girls should have like female teachers. So the father reply was like, if we don't educate our girls today, so how could we have teachers tomorrow? So these were some challenges, and I think the answer was in the story of her father. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us. I believe we have a participant from Swat with us. Can you hear us?
It's Hadika. Hadika, can you hear us?
Assalamu alaikum.
So Hadika, so here we were talking about the book I Am, and how was the experience for the readers to read that book and go through that journey. Since, like Hurmat rightly mentioned earlier, that you are from Swat and you are most probably from the same school as Malala, which is very exciting for all of us. So we would just like to get your opinion on. We would just like to get your opinion on the book. How was it for you to read her journey? And what are your two cents about the entire conversation that Malala explains in her book?
I think she's speaking, but we cannot hear her.
I feel it's just that her internet is kind of weak. So.
Hadika, we are not able to hear you. You can message in the chat as well. There's a chat box. You can message here.
Yes, definitely. And we can obviously incorporate the views that you share there with our partners here in Afghanistan.
Or maybe if you switch off your video, that will help your audio to reach us.
As I read this book, the book I Am Malala is the book.
the students from Swat, they have been trying really hard to connect, and of course they're very excited to talk about the book since it is from their region, and it's a huge honor that their region is being represented by such a big personality now. But unfortunately and sadly, they are not being able to connect due to something we cannot control, that is weather.
It's all right. Yes, Amir, you guys have a question for us?
Hello everyone. Hi. I hope everyone will good and healthy, Mr. Alisha and Hormat Riaz. I have a question and I want to have a discussion with you. So my question is that do youth nowadays in Pakistan face such challenge as Malala Yousafzai?
If I got your question correctly, you're asking us if there are other people who face the same challenge as Malala in Pakistan?
Yes.
I think that's a resounding yes. Even though Malala is one of the very few who found the courage and found the necessary environment that she had, which I'll explain on later with her father and everything, to actually come up and rise against all of this hatred and rise up against all of the restrictions and the hurdles she found. But even now, there are so many women in Pakistan, not just in Swat or in the KPK region, but all over Pakistan, in Punjab, in Sindh, in urban cities such as Karachi, Lahore, which who do not have the means or the resources to continue their education. There is a long-standing tradition where women are again using the same as Taliban did, stopping the women from going and seeking education. So yes, there are a lot of many students, a lot of many young children who are being denied their right to education. And again, stories such as Malala, people such as Malala or Iqbal, they are individualism and are basically a role model for not just them, for men like us, women like women, everybody. And yeah, so the scenario between Afghanistan and Pakistan is very same. Although there are certain places which are more urbanized than others, but this problem of women being denied the right to education exists all over the country. Thank you for that, Kashan.
And Mr. Alisha, I have another question. It's depend to your answers. I will ask it. So what do you think? Do you can or your yachts can change this problem or can changeable this situation?
So your question is what we can do to change the situation. And I think, like Zamir pointed out earlier from your side, and the conversation that we're having, that what?
No, I mean the yachts can change this situation by themselves, like trying, hard trying, and education ground. And that was the question. If you know.
Okay. I'm so sorry. There might be a problem with the internet. So you're asking me that how we can change the situation, right? Is that what your question? Okay. So like I said, the only way to change the situation is to first of all educate ourselves and to become a platform for the other person. So when we were reading about the story of Malala, and Malala rightly puts, like your friend earlier pointed out, that her father was a falcon for her. The influence of her father was pivotal to Malala's need and Malala's spirit of seeking education. Being in a household where she saw the importance of education, her father being a teacher, her father going through all the troubles to have a school in the district, even though the Taliban's were there, I feel like, were very influential on herself, and which led her to have the courage to speak up for her rights. I believe in my family, if I would just share, the reason why I was able to get an education, like I'm the only graduate in my family, like only male graduate in my family. And the reason I was able to get it is because my mother stepped up and she was like, no, I'm going to teach my son. He's not going to earn. He's going to go to school and he's going to study. So this resounding effort for this empathetic effort for having for the other person to allow them to come and educate is something that we can do. So it is in our personal capacity that we can reach out to these individuals and we can show them a hand of gratitude and try to raise them up. Hurma, do you like to add something on this?
I didn't hear. Can you repeat?
Yeah, sorry.
Yes.
So, a student from Swat, Hadika, she has been, I have been messaging her in the chat box, and she has told us that, of course, Malala she studied at the school from where she is from, Khushal Public School, and she went from there to Oxford University, from where she graduated recently. And she is saying that from one small position, she went on to win the Nobel Peace Prize. And and of course, she is saying that the book is about Malala Yousafzai, who is the girl who fought for girls' education in critical situation when Taliban came to Swat. And of course, it clearly shows that how much these young girls are proud of Malala being from their city, from their region, and she is representing Pakistan and their region all over the world. So if you can please repeat your question about what you were asking us, then I will, of course, answer you.
So Herman, he was actually asking us for how we can suggest that how the situation that we see in Pakistan, in Afghanistan, where women and children in general are being denied the right for education.
Mhm.
So how do you what are your 2 cents on this point? How we can change that?
Personally, I think that it's a very long way to go, and we can take very small baby steps to change this situation. On personal level, I think we can start having conversations around these such hard topics. And if we come across anyone, or if we come across any person, even in our family, even in our surroundings, in our neighborhood, where a person is being denied their basic right to get an education, we can have a very healthy conversation with them. Of course, not fight with them, but have a very healthy conversation with them and make them understand that why is it necessary for their child or for their daughter to get education. And if someone is not, financially strong enough to send their children to school, so of course we can always pitch in and help them go to school. And another thing, which is of course again will become political, and it's something should happen on the government level, that education should be free for all. It should be, not that expensive. That getting education should not be that expensive, and of course it should be, in an ideal country, it should be free, so that everyone is able to go to school and they won't have to think twice about it, that, oh, I should send my child to work instead of sending them to school. So I think before I say that it's all the responsibility of the state or the government, I think on a personal level, what we can do is we can always contribute to the community. We can always volunteer at such places where they are teaching children from the underprivileged community. If you cannot volunteer, you can always donate in the form of money, in the form of books, and of course, in the form of your services. And this is something which we can do on a personal level. So I think these are my thoughts on how we can, change the situation.
Yeah. Using the thoughts that Hurmat just brought about us, I just would like to have a conversation on 2 essential points that we just had. In first, like we were discussing earlier, the importance of Malala's father on Malala herself, and the importance of, like Hurmat said, being able to provide service to others, becoming a platform for others to be able to achieve education and gain that. It is very important, and we see in these stories that we read around, like Iqbal and Malala, it's very important for us to understand the importance of our own personal capacity. it is very easy for us to say that the government, and it's rightly so, that the government should provide an environment where education is not really that costly and the access to education is very rapidly available. But we see in countries such as Pakistan, countries such as Afghanistan, and all over the developing world that that is not the scenario. And it is in these countries where we see that the individual capacity and the efforts done in individual capacities are far greater than we can ever imagine to be. So it is very important, and one of the most important lessons I think we should take from this book is the value for and the importance of becoming a platform for the other person. The same way her father, Malala's father, was for Malala, and how Malala is now a platform for all these wonderful people in Swat and the women in Swat who now see as Malala as somebody who did it. So the idea of going and getting your education against all odds becomes a reality. It's not some legend that lives along in their mind, but it's a reality. And we all can become a sounding reality uh, for the people around us. The second point that I would really like to raise about is education itself. Earlier, yesterday, me and Hermat were in a conversation with another friend, another group of Afghanistan and Pakistan, and we were talking about the importance of education. And education is not something that is just given in schools or colleges or university. It is something that is within us. It's a very introspective endeavor that goes around while we analyze and search within ourselves how we can improve ourselves. And that is the essence of education. And that is something that we don't need to go to any school to get that. That is something that comes from within. And I think it's very important for our participants to understand and to take from the story of Malala the importance of introspection and the importance of education not being a subject, but rather being a way of life. So Malala, although Malala saw individuals going beyond their capacity, trying to achieve what is right, we also see through the story of Malala that she had the will to understand, and the reason why she had that will was through the introspection of analyzing, why am I not allowed to do this? Why are the other men allowed to do this and I'm not? Why am I not allowed to go outside? Why can I not go to school? So these are the questions that I think we should keep on asking ourselves on a daily matter to understand where we are today and where we want to go. Yeah, so these are the two elements that I was going to talk.
Yes, so our participant from Swat, she has been, messaging very excitedly in the chat box, and I've been talking to her, and I've asked her the same question: what do you think that we can improve our situation of students, or especially young girls, getting education? And she is really, innocently and very, I find it really, adorable in that sense, that it's very close to my heart as well, that having supportive parents. She's saying that since Malala has a father who was very supportive to her, and if you listen to the TED talk by her father, he is saying that I didn't clip her wings. I let her fly, I let her dream, and I always supported her in her decisions and in her dreams. And I think even if you don't have supportive families, but I come from a family who is sometimes supportive and who is sometimes not supportive. But I think you have to be resilient, and you do not. I can totally understand that when you are young, when you are in your teen years, you are always there to put up a fight, and you are always there ready to argue.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Hadika, I can hear you.
Okay, ma'am. So if you have any question, you can ask from me.
Oh, okay. Do you want to talk about the book?
Yes, of course, I will talk about the book. So as I said that the book is about Malala, who is also from her hometown, from our hometown, and she is from our school. And I'm feeling very proud to say that Malala is also from Kushal School, and I'm also from Kushal School. So I remember, and the day I think it was 9 of October 2012 when Malala has been shot. So at that day, I have saw Malala from the last time, and she was sitting on the chair, and at that time, And now when I see her on the TV, and I told other people that I'm from same school as Malala Reid, so I feel very proud. And the most important thing which I like about the book is that there is in Pashto we call it share that khairi bawali der tanakram to topaka uran wadan kuruna. So which means that gun of darkness, why would I not curse you? You turn landfill homes into broken debris. So if we, so I think this is very deep if we think about it. So in this one thing, she tell her whole story, that how she has been shoot and how she didn't want to leave her hometown, but unfortunately she have to leave her hometown. And I think this is if she have not supportive family, and her father is her falcon, and I think he has her falcon, and he support her daughter to do everything which she want. And she leave her like a butterfly. She want everywhere, she do everything which she want. And in this book she explained every and each and everything. And she also talk about Afghanistan, the Taliban situation. And this book is also very informative. If we let Yes.
Hadika, please keep on speaking. We are listening to you. Please carry on.
So this book is very informative. If a person want to know about the Swat Valley, so they can also I most recommended this book because she explained the beauty of the Swat very beautifully. And when I was reading this book, so she explained each and everything truly. And she explained that she talk about the Khushal school, she talked about her bus driver, and everything was true. And in the book she also talked about her teachers. So some of her teachers, like she talked about Miss Razia, so she's still present in Khushal school.
It's so
That's
refreshing to hear
amazing.
that.
I'm so glad that you can, yeah, exactly. And it's so, I can collect on a very, personal level as well now. Thank you so much, Hadika, for contributing and keep on trying to connect to the
And
call.
Hadika,
Thank you so much.
I just want to say that the after hearing what you just said, and after hearing, I have no words actually to explain how grateful I am to have an opportunity to speak with you. I mean,
Thank you so much, sir.
you are the people who went through all of that trauma, and you are still sitting in a school trying to connect, trying to learn something more. And
Yeah.
that is something which no words can define. I mean, I think all of you girls should get a Nobel Prize. But
Yes.
it's
Inshallah.
so motivating for us. It's so motivating. Thank you so much for
Thank you so much,
joining
sir.
us. I just wanted to ask Hadika. So, while reading the book, obviously you saw the journey of Malala very close, and you have a very unique perspective towards it. While reading about her journey and while reading about how she was able to overcome, what were you mentioned that it was the presence of her father and the presence of her parents being able to allow her to grow and allow her to discover her own passion. How was it for you in that environment, living in that environment? How was it for you? And while after seeing Malala, what were the reasons why you were not able to do it and she was, apart from her father and apart from those elements? If you just would comment briefly on that.
Sir, I'm not hearing you properly. Can you please repeat your question?
Uh, so, Harika, I'm saying that because you have a very unique perspective on the journey that Malala went through, I just wanted to ask you, how was it for you while going through the same journey with her? How was your experience of the Taliban and of not being able to seek education?
uh, uh, when Taliban came to our country, I think at that time I was in class. No. At that time I was in class first or something like that. Now I'm in class 10. So when Taliban came to our country, so the only girl was Malala. She talked about the girls' education, and I think if there were more Malalas in our country, so no one can beat us. No one can beat us in education. and through all this journey, through all the journey of Malala, and now I'm here in Swat. So at that situation, and now here in Swat, the situation has been more improved than before, and now mashallah, all the parents are very supportive, and my parents are very supportive, and all the parents, I think that in Swat the situation are more improved than before when Taliban came to our country, and this is just because of Malala. And in our school, there is also Malala Fund, and the more and more girls are taking education there. In our school, there is Malala Fund.
Oh, that's amazing to hear that. Whenever I hear anything about Malala in the news, or whenever I'm seeing that she is doing something for her country or for the girls' education throughout the world, I feel very proud that she didn't stop looking back. She is always there to back her peers back in her hometown. When I was talking to your teacher, Huma Shakir, she also told me that the library that's in your school, it's also supported by Malala and her fund.
Yes,
so it's really amazing that she keeps on contributing. And going back to what I was saying before, that it's also very important that when you are achieving something and when you have some skills, you also have to give back to the community. You cannot be selfish with what you have achieved. So when we were talking about that, what we can do to change the situation of education, I think it's always very important that you should always give back in any form. I think the best way to do is to give back to the community by helping them in getting education, by teaching them, by providing books, which is also becoming very expensive in our country, especially the books are getting expensive. So if you can contribute, and especially in the form of such book clubs where you can exchange books, where you can borrow books and you can take care of the books, and then they can, go to some other community and they can get benefit from them.
Thank you so much, everybody, for joining the session. We are coming towards the end of the session. It's one of the best sessions that I've attended, and I'm so moved by all the stories that I've heard about. I would just like to end the session on a closing note where I would like to share one verse from a very famous poem in Invictus. It's one of the poems that really motivates me in every part of my life. It's one of the poems that Nelson Mandela used to read to himself during his 30 years, which is one of the longest imprisonment that anybody has ever had. So in that scenario, I would just like to say the line goes like this. Poem starts with, over the night that covers me, black as the pit, from pole to pole. I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. And this line kind of depicts the scenario that we find ourselves in, where we have so many hurdles to overcome, so many restrictions, so many things stopping us from achieving our goal. But it's our will, and it's our unconquerable will, which will define our final path. So thank you so much, Kandahar. Thank you so much, Zamir Ali. Thank you so much, Adika. It was a pleasure speaking to all of you about this book. Zamir, I just saw your message regarding your next book, so I will call you personally and we can talk about that.
I have.
That's great. It's all right. It's
I think I have replied. Zamir, it's in other rooms, other wonders by Dania Moinuddin.
Sorry, pardon me. Okay, sure. Yes, thanks so much. I just got it. Yeah, thanks so much.
All right. Thank you
so much,
for joining.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good time.
Bye-bye.
All right. Khuda Hafiz. Thank you, Hadika, for joining.
Khuda Hafiz, man. Thank you so much.